The morning felt unusually still, as though the world was holding its breath. I was standing by the kitchen window, watching pale sunlight crawl across the sink, when my phone suddenly buzzed on the counter. I assumed it was a routine text from Ethan, "Have a good day, Mom," because he never called before a flight. Never. But when I saw his name flashing, a cold prickle crawled up my spine. "Ethan, aren't you supposed to be in the cockpit?" His voice didn't sound like his. Not steady, not warm. It was thin and trembling like a wire about to snap. "Mom, she's on my flight." My heart thudded painfully. "Who? Ethan, who?" There was a long, shaky breath on the other end. "Anna." The name hit me like a blow. The room spun slightly. I gripped the edge of the counter to stay upright. "That's impossible," I whispered. "She's supposed to be home. She left 3 weeks ago." Left after our worst argument. Left without her coat, without her charger, without goodbye. But Ethan kept speaking, voice breaking. "Mom?" She walked onto my plane like she didn't even know where she was. She's sitting in 14A. Same clothes as the night she disappeared. My fingers went numb. The coffee mug slipped from my hand, shattering on the tile, but I barely heard the noise. "Ethan, listen to me. Look at her again. Does she see you? Does she know you're there?" His silence stretched, then, "No," she stared right through me, like I'm a stranger. I pressed a shaking hand to my mouth. "Mom," Ethan whispered, voice cracking with a fear I'd never heard from him before. "Something's wrong with her. Really wrong." And in that moment, every quiet fear that had haunted me for 3 weeks rose like a scream inside my chest. The photo came through with a soft chime, but the moment I tapped it, my breath stopped. There she was, my Anna, my bright, stubborn, sharp-tongued girl, reduced to a hollow shell. She sat stiffly, shoulders hunched, like every muscle in her body was bracing for impact. Her hair, usually braided neatly, hung tangled around her face. She looked drained of color, of warmth, of life. But it was her eyes that shattered me. Wide, empty, unfocused. Not scared beyond scared. As if she had watched something unspeakable and was still trapped inside the memory. Before I could gather myself, Ethan's message vibrated on the screen. "Mom, she's not alone." My stomach plummeted. I zoomed in. A man sat beside her. Too close. His posture calm, almost casual. But there was something wrong, unnatural, in the stillness of his face. His suit was too crisp for an early flight, his eyes too cold, fixed not on the window or the safety card but straight ahead, like he was listening for something only he could hear. Then another message from Ethan. "He keeps whispering to her. She flinches every time." A hot tear rolled down my cheek, followed by another. My daughter, my child, looked like prey. I typed back with shaking fingers. "Ethan, does she look hurt?" 10 seconds. 20. My pulse hammered against my ribs. Finally, "No bruises, but Mom, she's clutching her backpack like she thinks someone will rip it away." I stared at the image again. Anna's knuckles were white. Her lips pressed so tight they almost disappeared. Something was very, very wrong. Ethan's next message came fast. "Mom, we're closing the cabin door. I have to go. I'll watch her, I swear." I pressed the phone to my chest, trembling, trying to breathe. My daughter wasn't at home. She wasn't missing. She was right there, terrified, silent, and sitting beside a stranger whose presence felt like a threat carved in human form. And my son was trapped on a plane with both of them. The flight had barely reached cruising altitude when Ethan found his moment. He slipped out of the cockpit under the excuse of checking a passenger complaint, something he had done 100 times before, but never with his heartbeat pounding so loudly he could feel it in his throat. He walked slowly down the aisle, pretending to check overhead bins, pretending everything was fine. But inside, every nerve in his body screamed. When he reached row 14, he didn't look directly at Anna. He knew better than to draw attention. Instead, he let his gaze slide across the row as if scanning for seatbelts. Anna didn't look up, didn't shift, didn't blink. But her fingers moved. Barely. A tiny trembling motion, like she was fighting her own body to make it happen. As Ethan stepped past her row, something small slipped from her hand, a folded scrap of paper, no larger than a gum wrapper. It fluttered to the aisle carpet almost invisibly. Ethan's breath hitched. She had done that for him. For help. Keeping his steps natural, he bent slightly as though picking up litter. His fingers brushed the paper. He slid it quickly into the sleeve of his uniform, hiding the motion with a practiced ease only years of training could provide. He didn't dare look back. When he returned to the cockpit, the captain glanced at him. "You okay? You look pale." Ethan nodded stiffly. "Cabin's fine." As soon as the door was closed, he pulled out the folded note. His throat tightened when he saw the frantic handwriting. Letters slanted, almost carved into the paper from pressure. He snapped a picture and sent it to me with shaking hands. Then he read it. "Don't talk to me, he's watching. He has my phone, he has my passport. He said he'll hurt you. Please stay away." Ethan swallowed hard, his eyes burned. There was one more line, messy, rushed, almost unreadable. "Tell Ethan not to call me by name." A wave of cold swept over him. She knew he had seen her. She knew he wanted to call out to her, and she knew exactly how dangerous that would be. When the plane hit a pocket of turbulence, the cockpit lights flickered and the aircraft shuddered. Ethan gripped the armrest, but his fear wasn't for the plane. It was for Anna, and for whatever darkness had taken hold of her life long before she walked onto his flight. The final 20 minutes of the flight were a suffocating stretch of dread. Ethan could barely focus on the landing checklist. His mind was in row 14A, where his sister sat frozen beside the man who seemed to breathe danger. Airport security had been alerted. The captain had discreetly sent the emergency code, one that meant potential trafficking, coercion, or a passenger in immediate danger. Officers would be waiting at the gate. But then the situation spiraled without warning. 10 minutes before descent, the man unbuckled his seatbelt. Not calmly, abruptly, like he'd made a sudden decision. He grabbed Anna's wrist and yanked her upward. She stumbled into the aisle, almost falling onto an elderly passenger. Ethan's blood ran cold. He stepped out of the cockpit before the captain could stop him. "Sir, please return to your seat," he said, trying to keep his voice professional, steady. But inside, panic clawed at him. The man's head turned slowly. His stare was sharp, reptilian, full of calculation. "Sit down," he hissed, tightening his grip on Anna. "This doesn't concern you." Anna didn't even dare breathe. Her eyes, for the first time, flicked to Ethan. Just a flicker, but it was enough to show the terror inside them. Silent, pleading, desperate. Passengers were beginning to whisper. A woman gasped. A man pressed the flight attendant call button. The air felt electric, charged with fear. The captain's voice boomed through the speakers. "Sir, you must take your seat immediately. We are preparing for landing." But the man didn't move. Instead, he dragged Anna toward the forward exit door, as if he knew exactly where it was and how close he was to it. Ethan stepped in front of him, blocking the narrow aisle. "Let her go," he said quietly. The man's eyes narrowed. His voice dropped to a venomous murmur. "If you intervene, I'll make sure she suffers before you can stop me." A murmur rippled through the cabin. Anna let out a tiny, strangled whimper. That was it. Ethan snapped. He lunged forward, grabbing the man's wrist, twisting it away from Anna with every ounce of strength he had. The man fought back, snarling, trying to wrench free, but Ethan held on. Anna stumbled backward, falling against the seats as passengers cried out. Cabin crew rushed to help. A flight attendant hit the emergency restraint alert. The man bucked and cursed, but Ethan locked him down until restraint straps were secured around his arms. The plane jolted as the pilots fought turbulence, but Ethan didn't let go until he knew Anna was safe. Trembling, pale, tears streaming silently down her face. And the moment the plane touched the ground, the entire world seemed to exhale. The second the aircraft door opened, chaos met them on the jet bridge. Police officers surged forward, some in uniform, others plain-clothed but unmistakably trained. They moved with singular purpose, surrounding the restrained man as if he were radioactive. He thrashed once, twice, shouting threats that were sharp enough to cut the air. "You think this ends here? You think she's safe? You have no idea who you're dealing with." Ethan flinched at the words but refused to look away. Anna, however, shrank into herself, her trembling becoming violent as the officers dragged the man out of sight. The moment he was gone, something inside her crumpled. She collapsed, not fainting but folding in on the weight of everything she'd been holding in. Ethan caught her, pulling her into his arms, and she clung to him with a strength born of desperation. Her sobs ripped out of her chest, shaking her entire body. "Ethan, I thought I'd never see you again," she whispered, voice raw. He held her tighter. "You're safe now. I've got you." Not even a minute later, I ran down the jet bridge. I don't remember my feet touching the ground. I only remember the sound Anna made when she saw me, half cry, half child's plea. Mom? I wrapped my arms around her and she pressed her face into my shoulder like she was trying to hide from the entire world. She smelled like fear, sweat, airport air, and something metallic. Something wrong. You're home, I murmured, stroking her hair as her tears soaked through my shirt. You're safe. It's over. But she stiffened. Her fingers dug into my arms. Her voice shook, but there was a hard edge of truth buried in it. Mom, it's not over. I pulled back just enough to look at her. Her eyes darted around, searching corners, faces, shadows. He wasn't working alone, she whispered. He kept saying he wasn't the one who found me. A chill crawled up my spine. Then who did? Anna swallowed, unable to meet my gaze. Someone close. Someone who knows our house, our routines, our family. My breath caught. Anna who? She finally looked at me, wide, haunted eyes. Mom, someone you trust. Her words didn't echo, they detonated. And in that moment, surrounded by police radios, airport noise, and the fading screams of the man being dragged away, a new fear bloomed inside me. Who had betrayed us? And why were they still out there?